So we just got literally all of the intel on the Black Ops 6 campaign, both story and gameplay wise. And as you guys know, I like to dive into the story of Call of Duty. So there's going to be two videos going up on this channel today. The first of which, the one that you are looking at here, goes over everything that has been revealed for the Black Ops 6 story so far. So this includes a bunch of missions, things along those lines. And of course, the thing that they added today is a bunch of characters' backstories. In fact, all of the characters that are going to be in the campaign, they added backstories to these characters. So we're going to go over all of that in this video, and then in a second video coming later today, I'm going to go over everything gameplay wise that you need to know for the campaign. So campaign rewards, mission names, how you level up your character, things along those lines, and you'll see what I mean in the second video later today. But first, I want to tell you about the story of Black Ops 6 because they essentially revealed the whole thing, starting here.
Black Ops 6 follows the events of both Cold War and then the 1980s part of Black Ops 2.
The story takes place in 1991. Frank Woods had been on a mission in Panama that had gone south because there was apparently a mole within the CIA that betrayed them. Jason Hudson got killed. Alex Mason was killed by Woods' hand unintentionally. So what we're dealing with is some of the aftermath of those events.
So right away, they give us the backstory on what was going on before, and we know that Jason Hudson died via Raul Menendez, and apparently Alex Mason died. If you haven't checked out my video yesterday about Alex Mason actually being alive, go check that one out. This kind of supports that because he kind of stumbles over his words when he's talking about Alex Mason being dead once again. But anyway, moving on to where our characters are today from our old characters.
Our major returning characters are Frank Woods. He's a man of action, but he's not able to actually get out in the field anymore. We also have Russell Adler. No one quite understands his motivations, so he's difficult to trust.
So that idea of Russell Adler being difficult to trust is going to come back in a big way later down the road. We'll talk about that later. But that's kind of all of our returning characters. Let's now go to our new characters because we have a ton of information on those.
As far as new characters, we have Troy Marshall brings leadership, and then
as far as Troy Marshall goes, Marshall has been making a name for himself in the field, a protege of Frank Woods. We don't as of yet right now know how Frank Woods and Troy Marshall met, but I bet you we find out in this game. He is a methodical leader driven by a strong moral compass with a single-minded focus on overcoming adversity and a stubborn streak that borders on reckless. It isn't surprising that Woods and Marshall share that common ground. Both men are now working with the CIA handler Jane Harrow.
Savati Dumas, she's the master of disguise.
Then we have Savati Dumas. She has a lot of different haircuts that we see throughout these trailers. You'll see as we go through this. But it says this: taken in by the Guild, one of the Avalon crime factions at a young age. So again, Avalon crime factions. We will get to that in a minute. But Savati Dumas loyally served the crime family as they trained her to become an assassin and espionage expert. Her allegiance changed when she met the love of her life, an idealistic man who helped her reveal the ugliness of the criminal underworld. I wonder if that's going to be a part of the campaign. We don't know yet. When Dumas expressed her desire to quit the life of an assassin, the crime family manipulated her into thinking that her partner was an inside agent for a rival crime family. She orchestrated his death, but afterwards discovered that the ordeal was set up to keep her in line. This backstory is insane. Savati disowned her adopted family and became an independent assassin, funneling her resources into waging a personal war against the Avalon crime faction. Her exploits eventually caught the eyes of the CIA operatives in Europe who were eager to use her uncanny ability to track down elusive targets. So a couple of huge things in there. Avalon crime factions, we'll get to that in a minute. And number two, this whole crime family thing is a whole background story that I think we'll touch on throughout the campaign as well.
And Felix Newman is a tech genius.
Then we have Felix Newman in East Berlin after the formation of the GDR. Felix Newman excelled at sports, but showed little interest in them, preferring to read or tinker with appliances and electronic devices. Following compulsory military service, Newman was recruited and trained by the Stasi. However, after several years within their ranks, Felix began to regret his association with the brutal Stasi. He started selling state secrets to West Germany and its allies to build a nest egg, with a plan to eventually flee East Germany. After successfully escaping to the West, he made a living by providing the criminal underworlds of Europe with his technological expertise and inventions.
Their arcs are very like, I don't know who to trust. I don't necessarily trust anybody in this room, but we know that we have like a similar goal.
So on that blog post where I took those images from is where we get a deeper description of what Black Ops 6 really is a story. They talk about how it takes place during the Gulf War and how it's really the main headline going on in the world is this Gulf War after the United States is the only superpower in the world. But while the global spotlight is on the Gulf War, a shadowy clandestine force, who we're going to find out is known as Pantheon, infiltrated the highest levels of the CIA, branding anyone who resists them as traitors. So Black Ops veteran Frank Woods and his team, who we just talked about, are hunted by the military because they don't agree with what this secret clandestine shadowy force is doing within the CIA. So they are all held together by their CIA handler by the name of Jane Harrow. Jane Harrow is an operator specialist in the CIA's Special Activities Division, so the SAD division. We have heard about that many times before. Jane Harrow coordinates missions, planning, and intelligence gathering alongside multiple paramilitary handlers. Harrow reports directly to SAD Deputy Director Daniel Livingstone, who we saw in the original campaign trailer. He's the one with the beard. He was the one hunting Russell Adler. And then the final person that they are going to work with is the infamous Russell Adler. His allegiance and motivation remains unclear, but the team needs all the help they can get. So in other words, we don't know what the heck is going on with Adler.
When we were starting to think of a campaign, we first start with our era. So we knew we wanted to touch on the Gulf War. We'll hit Kuwait, Iraq, Washington, D.C., Soviet Union. And then from there, we fill in the gaps with, what are just cool locations that we want to do that are fun, provide big...
So we need to hold up right there. If you want to take a closer look at what this is, this appears to be some sort of weapons facility. But as we zoom in, we have a bunch of cameras aimed around a small-sized city. It almost looks like it's some sort of Truman Show that is going on or something along those lines, which looks incredibly interesting. But I believe this is all tied together with Avalon and something else that we'll look at in a minute.
Experiences, big moments, and really fit the characters.
So this, as you can see down at the very bottom middle there, we are in a building for the Advanced Technologies and Applications Division, I believe, which is part of the CIA. And this building, we don't know where it is. I personally believe that it is in Avalon, but the building that you were looking at here, you can see the big A arch in the background. Whenever you see that Illuminati logo, that you want to think Advanced Technologies and Applications Division within the CIA, which I believe was that mysterious room that we saw before, was all part of this big building because the aesthetics really do match. We'll see a little bit more of this in a minute, and I will point it out when we get there. The next thing that we have to look at is who we actually play as within Black Ops 6.
So the player is playing a CIA operative named William Calderon. He goes by Case.
Throughout the campaign, you'll be playing as Case.
So William Calderon is the character that we play as. We discovered this before. We don't know what his mystery actually is. We just know he's a CIA asset. But I do have a video out on him. It'll be linked down in the description. It's called Black Ops 6's Biggest Secret. And if we look at this image here, you can see that he has that same Illuminati tattoo on his wrist, meaning he is a part of that weird division that we talked about before. Again, link down below. It'll also be linked at the end of this video if you want to check it out.
But there are other opportunities and other missions where you will play as other members of the team. And under the radar, you're playing as Sev, and she gets her own uniform and is disguised as a person who's working the base. We're hammering home to the player, this is a different character you're playing as. And so prototyping a mechanic around her having heightened keen eye senses, integrating that into the flow of the mission worked really well.
I think my favorite part is in high rollers. You're going to go in there, pretend you are one of the customers and break into the underground vault and get that cash out.
So cool missions so far, right? Well, Listen to this one.
My favorite mission is Emergence. It's a classic Black Ops, mind twisting, don't really know what's going on sort of vibe to it. And I think players are really, really going to enjoy it.
So if you pay close attention to this entire mission, it all appears to be in the Advanced Technologies and Applications Division building that we looked at earlier. On top of this, we see some sort of oiled down zombies, a Diddy zombie, if you will. We also have mannequins running throughout this building. This is the choking mannequin we saw in the original trailer. There are some wild aspects to this mission, and this is like the classic Black Ops that we've all come to know and love. This mission's called Emergence, and as I was mentioning, it looks absolutely insane. So everything that we covered in this video all has to do with the story of Black Ops 6 in the campaign. We have yet to talk about the actual gameplay, and that is something that we will be talking about in the next video. So if you've been enjoying these campaign Black Ops 6 videos, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, turn notifications on. We will cover more of this later on today, so stay tuned. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace.
We are reaching for the stars, but we're making